Hello and welcome to this episode of the Main Street Show. I'm your host, Will Taylor, and today I am here with Ashland Mayor Matt Miller. Mayor Miller, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I believe tomorrow is the start of spring, so I'm looking forward to it.
That's perfect news. So just getting into it, can you kind of give me a timeline of your path to becoming mayor and things that you went through?
Okay. No, that's a good question. And believe it or not, I actually graduated from Ashland University back in 1999. And the truth is, if I actually talk to you about the path to becoming mayor, I have to go back even 4 years before that to when I was a senior at Hillsdale High School out in Jeromesville, Ohio. And when I was 17, it was early in my senior year, I had too many study halls. I had already participated in the post-secondary option program here at Ashland University, and that was a marvelous program to take advantage of, but I still had too many study halls. And so one day my biology teacher said to me, okay, we're gonna have to find something to fill these class hours for you, so what do you think about doing an internship at the county commissioner's office? Now, the reason he suggested that is because he knew I was interested in politics. Was I particularly interested in being a county commissioner? Not necessarily. In fact, I probably couldn't have told you what they did. But I will tell you, I agreed to do it. He set it up. And so twice a week, I would make a trip from my high school to the county commissioners' meetings. I would go there at 9 a.m. I would sit in the back of the room. Quite honestly, I was the only one in attendance from the public at those meetings. And I would watch the three commissioners discuss different issues, different matters, and of course, vote on them ultimately. Well, at the end of every week, I was to write a journal entry about what I had saw, what I'd witnessed, and so on. I did that for almost a whole semester, and I have to tell you, during that time, I began telling myself, now you know what? If I would be a county commissioner, I would have done that. Or if I would have been up there in one of those seats, I would have done a little bit more homework on that issue. And so I guess to make a long story short, by the time the end of my senior year rolled around, I decided that I would run for county commissioner. And of course, no one knew who Matt Miller was, and I didn't have a long resume because obviously I was still a student.
Right.
And growing up in the rural area, Jeromesville in our county, no one knew who Matt Miller was. So I decided to ask my teachers if they would contribute to my campaign. And I think I raised about $900 that time. And with the $900, I made some very simple brochures on the copy machine and ordered, I think, 200 yard signs at the time. And off I went knocking on doors all across the county. And I actually was running against a very good gentleman. He still lives here in Ashland, Mr. Valentine, Bob Valentine. And I'll tell you, at the time, I wasn't necessarily out to defeat Bob Valentine. I was simply out to get the opportunity to serve as a county commissioner. So, long story short, by the time we get to the end, on election day, I end up losing that election by about 350 votes. 350 votes, I believe, out of 3,000 that were cast. And from there, came to Ashland University, got a degree here at the school, and then 4 years later, ran again. And the second time was successful on election day and became an Ashland County Commissioner. Actually, at that point, I was the youngest one in the state of Ohio at age 22. And I was sworn in, I believe, in calendar year 2000. Served 2 years or 2 terms as a county commissioner, and then went to work for the Salvation Army Kroc Center. That's when they were just building the brand new Kroc Center. The community had received the $12 million grant to do so. Went to work at the Kroc Center for about 3 years, and after that, had a 7-year stint at the Department of Transportation, ran for city council back in 2015, and then finally ran for mayor in 2017. So I guess I went back a long ways, but it's interesting because it went very fast. And as I sit here before you, it is just almost dumbfounding to think that that is more than 2 decades ago, because quite frankly, to me, I still see myself as a student at Ashland University, just shortly after graduation. Right. But the truth is, somewhere along the line, I guess I became an adult.
Well, and you sure have. So, congratulations,
well,
by the way. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Well, you are mayor now.
Yes.
So, could you tell us a little bit about your responsibilities and maybe just your kind of day-to-day.
Absolutely. Well, according to the city charter, and the city charter is basically the constitution that outlines the responsibilities of all the officials in the city. According to the city charter, the mayor is the chief executive officer of city government and also the director of public safety, as well as the director of public city services. And that's unique because in many communities today, the mayor is more of a ceremonial position. I don't want to say that they don't do real work, because they do, but they also have a city administrator or a city manager who actually oversees the management, day-to-day operation of city government. In our city, we have what is referred to as a strong mayor form of government. In other words, the mayor is a real job. It's just not about going to groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings and so on. You actually are charged with the official responsibility of running the city government. Now, the truth is, there's a lot of other talented men and women who help make that happen. The mayor actually has several direct reports, a person that oversees the street department, the parks department, the water and sanitary sewer department, the HR department, and I could go on. But basically, if you can just think of it this way, the city government is a business with multiple different divisions. We have a water enterprise, we have a sewer enterprise, we have a park enterprise, we have even our own sanitation and recycling enterprise. And just like in a business, you'd have vice presidents or you'd have directors over those divisions, so too do we in Ashland city government. And here's the bottom line. It's a big business. The city of Ashland has about 250 employees on any given day doing a variety of things with a variety of different educational levels. And we just passed our budget for 2021, $74 million. So that's a pretty big operation. And I can assure you there's always plenty to do.
Well, speaking of plenty to do, and we talk about this a lot on Early Birds, can we talk about the Main Street project and if we've kind of made any more developments?
No, that's a great question, an exciting project to talk about. Main Street Plaza is what we're actually referring to it today. Mm-hmm. However, that name will soon change because once the project is complete, one of our major donors to this particular project is going to help us rename it. And it'll be a great name. I know everyone will be behind it when they hear it. But nonetheless, Main Street Plaza is being constructed on a piece of land downtown on Main Street, right next to Ohio Fire Pizza. And if you were to head down there right now, you would see Simonson Construction, the whole team busy at work, pouring footers and getting ready. In fact, I saw where they had already dug out the area where they're going to install an outdoor stage. And that's probably the feature component of the project, but basically, you know what I liken it to is if any of your viewers or you yourself have been to Lyndhurst, Ohio, or Legacy Village, Beechwood area. In Legacy Village, there is, among all the different shopping center, all the shops and the various restaurants, there is an open courtyard with an outdoor stage covered by a pergola. It's well landscaped, beautiful light poles, light fixtures, benches where people can sit and enjoy, their kids can play on the courtyard. That's very much what's going to be downtown as soon as this project's complete. It will be outlined by a perimeter wall that will be about 4 feet high. It will actually be made of brick, so it will hopefully blend into the kind of the historical look of downtown. And then one of the components that I think is going to bring a lot of fun to people is out in the middle of this green space where we will be able to have festivals and be able to have concerts and be able to have all sorts of community activities. There will be three or four, I guess, because there might be some babies, but there will be life-size bronze statues of a lion, tiger, and bears.
Oh my.
Oh my, that's right. There's not too many times I say that someone doesn't say oh my. But those will be wonderful statues for kids to enjoy, small kids to play on and so on while their parents are enjoying downtown.
Was there, what was the kind of thought process behind the lion, the tiger,
You know,
and the
I
bear?
wish I had some great answer to tell you, and I don't. I will tell you, I think it starts off with the majesty that there is when you see a big lion. If you've ever visited Kalahari, the indoor amusement park,
Yes,
water
yep.
park up in Sandusky. They've got a lot of these giant life-size bronze statues of animals from Africa. And I think that the majesty of seeing a big lion with the mane poised there is very powerful. And if I'm honest, I think that's where it started. A lion. Well, why not a tiger? And then you know what? If you have a bear, you can have small cubs. And so I think ultimately
go.
that's what you'll see on that particular green space.
I'm very excited to see how that turns out.
Should be complete, we're hoping, by June. The goal
That's
is
beautiful.
the goal is to have it done by Memorial Day. I think I scare the contractor every time I say that, but we're hoping to be able to have a grand opening in June and hopefully kick it off with one of our first grand downtown concerts.
Well, speaking of other properties in Ashland, the Clark and Hess.
Yes, Hess and Clark
Yes.
building.
What's going on there?
You know, that's a very exciting project as well. That one, the city is not necessarily directly involved in controlling like we are the one downtown,
Okay.
Main Street Plaza, but the city made the decision to sell the Hess and Clark site, the old Hess and Clark facility, to a developer from California, and Abacus Financial. And Abacus Financial's original intention was to come in, remove this blighted structure, very dangerous structure, remove it down to the concrete slab, and build a data center on that location. A data center being basically the processing center for online transactions for companies like Home Depot, Target, Amazon, and others. That was the original intention. But I have to tell you, Will, before we actually closed the deal, I told the developer, there's no way we're going to sign any of this unless we get to see you eyeball to eyeball. And so he said, okay, that's fine, I agree. And so he came into town to see me face to face, and so that we could discuss it together, and in person, the council could meet him and so on. Well, when he came, he spent the whole day here. And John Pacheco is actually about 74 years old, and he has been extremely successful in his life. In fact, he tells a story that he used to own 43,000 apartments in New York City, sold them to Warren Buffett, and now he builds these data centers all across the country. And John came into town, and after we'd had our formal business discussions and so on, I said, listen, if you'd like, why don't we spend the rest of the day and I'll show you around Ashland, show you all the exciting things that are happening, because there is so much activity right now going on in Ashland and in Ashland County. So we hopped in the car and I took him everywhere. I took him out to the industrial park and showed him the new road we just built in the industrial park. Showed him where all the apartments are going up, where dirt's being moved, people are making major investments in the future of our city. Showed him some of the companies that are expanding. And he was very impressed with the diversity of our economic base. We have so many different businesses building and manufacturing so many different items. And at the end of the day, when we stood in the city parking lot behind City Hall and his ride showed up to pick him up to take him to the airport, I made the comment to him, Mr. Pacheco, if you choose to invest here, your investment will be transformative. Because it's one thing for you to invest $3 million in New York City. You're not going to make a dent, probably not have much of an impact. But here in the city of Ashland, if you do a project like this and you put several $1 million in it, it can change the whole trajectory of our future, quite honestly. And he kind of chuckled, and I said, if you invest here, you'll be the hero. Well, he laughed, and I thought he's probably thinking this is some silly small-town mayor, get me out of here. Well, he took off. About a month later, he calls, and he says, you know what? I don't know what it is about your little town, but I like you guys. And he says, you know what? Let's do a project, let's do something a little bit more special than a data center. He said, what if I build apartments for you? After all, I had shown him the new pump house district that we want to create, told him the vision of how we want to develop that area into a kind of a hip living spot where people can live there and then walk 2 blocks to downtown to all the restaurants and so on. And so as we sit here today, Will, this is the plan for Hess and Clark. Now, things can change because until the building's built, we'll believe it when we see it.
Yes.
But right now, the intention is to construct on that site a 4-story apartment building, market rate apartment building. Unlike anything else in Ashland, it would feature a rooftop pool complex. On the first floor, it would have a space for a restaurant or a brewery or bar of some kind. He said that it's based on a work, play, stay concept. In other words, you can not only have an apartment there, but you can also enjoy some recreation time downstairs at the bar or the restaurant. Or you can, if you're one of these folks that will have the freedom to work from home, there will be space on that first level where you can set up your laptop and kind of be in a co-working space other than your apartment that's upstairs. It would be a perfect spot for such a construction because that is one of the highest points, geographically speaking, in the city. So if we put on one of the highest points of the city, a 4-story structure, now when you look out your windows or you walk out on your balcony of your apartment, you're going to have a spectacular view of downtown. And furthermore, because just adjacent to this site, we are installing what we're calling the new urban meadow, where the old pump house manufacturing facility used to be. You'll have a spectacular view of that modern green space. So I appreciate you asking about that project because it's fun to talk about because it very much, this activity fits into our vision of the pump house district, and now we all just have to sit back and see if it happens.
I'm sure it will.
I appreciate the confidence. I am too.
So this has been a kind of an interesting week in Ashland, especially yesterday when they released the vaccines for the public. What does that mean that University Hospital is doing that and allowing the public to start getting vaccinated?
Let me tell you, there's a lot of excitement around that decision. I know yesterday I was getting multiple messages from various individuals with university hospitals telling me that anyone could walk in. If you were 16 years or older, send them that way if they wanted a vaccine because, as you may know, the vaccine has a limited life. Once it's opened and so on, they have to administer the doses within a certain period of time or it will be no good. And so we are very fortunate that our county has received many different or many more doses of the vaccine, so we have to get it out as soon as possible. But your question, what does it mean for the community? Well, first of all, the timing couldn't be better. Because when spring's arriving and the weather's improving and things are starting to get green again, our spirits are already starting to lift. Then add to it those that might be living with the extra fear. Maybe they have a health condition or a family member with a health condition and are wanting to get back to some level of activity in the public, enjoying their life with others. This shot is viewed by many as the key to them regaining their freedom. So what does it mean to us? I think it means a lot to a lot of folks that are dying to get back to some sense of life here in the city of Ashland.
Yeah, people will just want to be back outside enjoying, especially the nice weather now that's coming up.
That's right. And you know, I'll tell you, on St. Patrick's Day, you would have thought the virus was 1,000 miles away. People were smiling, people were laughing, people were all over the sides of the creek on various streets taking selfies, moms and dads with their kids, elderly senior citizens that weren't getting out of the cars but were pulling up real close to the creek so they could see. And I thought to myself, now isn't that marvelous how that simple green dye, and it was only 2 jars of little green dye, brought so many people a wonderful memory and quite honestly, a great big smile.
Yeah, I saw pictures of it and I didn't see one frowny face.
That's great.
And to wrap up kind of the show with what we just talked about, the vaccines, now that COVID is kind of restrictions are starting to be lifted, are there any projects or things to look forward to now that some of these restrictions are going away?
You know there is. I will tell you right now, you have Main Street Ashland, the organization, nonprofit organization that also puts together special events for the city of Ashland. Now they're finally getting geared up to have a summer season full of downtown activities. Many of those activities didn't happen last year, or they happened in a very unique way that probably wasn't as thrilling as what it had been in the past. So yes, now that things are starting to open up, you know, I'll speak from my own perspective. You can tell things are opening up because now all of a sudden the calendar is filling up fast with activities. And we went through about 1.5 years there where there would be days that there wouldn't be any appointments. There was no special activity to go to on the weekend. And that's very unusual here in our community because we have so many wonderful organizations doing so many things. And I can tell they're all getting back into the swing of things because the calendar's filling up.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. That's all for this episode of the Main Street Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media at AUTV20. I'm Will Taylor. Thanks for watching.